now. You're losing some folks here. So,
All right.
okay.
I wrapped it up. Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you,
I love
Alfred.
you all. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, especially with the comparison of you being in the honeypot. That brings a lot of things. You can smell the honey, you can see the honey, but as long as you're not in the honeypot yourself and you don't taste the honey, you cannot express how wonderful honey tastes.
Thank you
That
so
was
much. I would love to be directed. Yes, I would love to be pushed in a way where you gave the example. Thank you so much. Yes, I mean, I talk too much, I know, but yes,
fine. We thank you for sharing. And the honeypot brought a lot of understanding for other parts. So I thank you for your wish.
thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else, Rick, who wants to come forward? But I would like to, for people, if possible, to create the wish so we can support as many wishes as we can this morning or this afternoon. That a lot of people can express with what has been lingering for such a long time in their head, but they didn't know where to go or how to express or how to bring it forward. This is your chance. Bring it forward, but a little bit shorter, please, so we can deal and handle and support so many more wishes. Thank you.
Hi,
Do you
Caroline.
have one? Hello, who's
Hi,
that?
it's me, Jalal. Good day, everybody, everyone. I have an idea, and I think it will help. All of us, we made some gases, we made some liquid plasmas, and we made some fields also. So everyone start to order this plasmas in any shape that it gives from itself the energy to the feeding. And this is most important thing, that if you're seeking for peace, you must feed the body, because from the body, if someone have hunger, he cannot do anything with peace, because he is seeking for food. So start ordering and order your plasmas everywhere. Even if you throw it in the seas, in the waters, anywhere, you are still connected with them. Any batches, any pin pan, any uh, magraphs, start order them to magnify the fields of food, and then parallel with that, the fields of love and peace. Both of them, these systems, because you are connected to them, if you order them, I think it will command your order. Thank you.
Thank you, Jalal. It's not only that they have to buy them. Go and dig deep in our teachings. You will find the exact process, how to do your nano coating, how to create your ganses. For every single one, I will support this wish of Jalal. Keep on pouring, keep on spraying your ganses worldwide, because we will bring the balance of the fields to elevate the souls, that we can reach the souls which are not connected to the foundation. Through our fields, we will reach them. Thank you, Jalal. I am present. Anyone else with the wish?
Hello.
Yes. Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is Rick from Colorado.
Good afternoon.
I think we're having a beautiful conversation this morning. I'm sorry I don't remember people's names, but we were listening to the gentleman from Brazil talk about his girlfriend. And I think that is a really beautiful example of how we find things in the world that we just can't wrap our minds around or accept, like the world governments or systems about the world. And he really shared how we can actually change people. I think in his girlfriend's experience, she really is, like most people, trying as hard as she can to do the best that she can. And people don't have a way to look at the world and see there's a better way. So I really love that he pointed to that. I've been listening to the Keshe Foundation for years and years before the Knowledge Seekers session started. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So thank you, first of all, for being on the internet and letting me find you this way. I have been listening, and I feel like I have more to contribute than I realize. Because I've assumed by listening to everybody, and everybody asks such great questions, that we've all had this experience where our heart has met our soul, and we all know, are coming from the same page. And now I realize that's not necessarily true. Some of us look at our soul or who we are as something that we're going to become, or something that's outside of us and we need to get in contact with it, but it is exactly who we are already. I think that it's so commonplace for us that we just kind of overlook at it. It's been here with us since we were born. Obviously, before that,
You still there?
Yes, I'm sorry. Then we moved on to the gentleman from California, and he talked about his experience. And then I feel like I can see what he's talking about and where he's going, but perhaps we could all do a better job of getting on the same page. Like, let's find our spirit and meet there as a point. Because I feel like when we start talking about things that seem fantastical, people are just lost. And it creates a lot of misconceptions. Words are really difficult in this arena, right? Because now we're talking about the plasma world, not the material world. Dr. Keshe corrects us all the time, thinking, so I wish we could all, I don't know where I'm trying to go with this, except I've met my spirit. It was an accident. I have meditated in the past. I was definitely asking myself who I am, but I didn't strike a specific pose. I didn't have any special mantras. I do feel like it just kind of happened to me. I was sitting on the floor and I was contemplating the idea of reincarnation, and then it struck me as kind of generous and thoughtful of my spirit that if we have had all these past lives, that I don't remember ever dying before. And then I thought, well, I don't remember ever being born, actually. And something about that just made me stop in my tracks and realize that if I'm not going to die, then who am I? And it gave me just a split second to realize that the belief that I hold so dear meant nothing. Meant that I was distracting myself from what's here already. And that is my awareness. I was also trained, and I think a lot of people are, to stop your thoughts. You have to stop thinking. You have to sit in the silence. And it makes so much sense after having experienced that. It is so very simple to just stop thinking and experience the feel of the spiral that's coming out of your body, to realize that you have an aura that feels like physical sensation, but it's not touching your physical skin. Anyway, so this realization led me to understand that the idea of sin and lack and sorrow are just mental constructs. Who are you sinning against? Who are we actually hurting? Who's hurting us? And at the time, it just struck me as hysterically funny. We put all of these rules and regulations on our own self. We hold ourselves back. And it's so very easy to blame it on things that are happening around us. But it's our own perspective that's misconstruing the reality. There are so many examples. I hear people on here all the time quoting other people's experiences. I think it was on day 2 that somebody said, well, if this has happened to you, why are you still here? And I laughed and I laughed. I just thought that was hysterical. Because what has happened to some of us is we've become aware of who we already are. We already are these. And it leads me to self-empowerment. I think it's Dr. Kesh talks about we won't be going into space as subordinates. We're not slaves. We're only joining ourselves. I'm sorry to ramble on here. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for sharing, sir.
Thank you.
You're touching points which have passed, but you know, the beauty is that sometimes it needs being repeated. It needs to be because somewhere you didn't get it the first time. Sometimes you didn't get it the second time. I'm trying to open the drawers of those different levels that somewhere somebody will be able to connect, that this, this light just switches on and say, wow, now
Yeah.
I can understand. Now it makes the connection because we are all vibrating on different energy levels. So if you're playing music and you know how music is getting constructed to become a symphony, all the musical instruments are playing on different tunes, on different levels. But when you listen from a distance to it, it becomes one, like a harmonious, pleasant imprint. But we are tuning all the souls to come to one level, to be able to hear the song of the universe, to hear the song of their soul. So we need to go in all these different levels of steps and allow people to express themselves, to see where we can tune and retune, and by giving it a nudge or a push for them to go into the correct level, for them to come to understand what we in totality are trying to express as a beautiful symphony. So we only need to tune each other's soul, that we all hear the same beautiful vibration, sensation, and sound. Because there are also deaf people on this planet which have no hearing. So when we tune the soul to come to the same frequency, although they are different in their own level, we will create the beautiful symphony of life and light. Because you're all those tiny little different music instruments who are trying to join this beautiful universal song. And we're tuning every day with the Kish Foundation to reach that beautiful sound that we as a humanity, we are one soul. And it only comes down to the matter, how beautiful will you express yourself with your music, with your soul, to come in balance with the others, to become that beautiful song that everybody can receive and hear and sense and vibrate.
Amen.
I'm present in your wish.
I'm present. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm present and I'll be the drummer in the orchestra. Thank you very much.
Just tune in. You all have beautiful sounds. We just need to see where we can match and vibrate together to make that beautiful sound that everyone will sense. Do we have more wishes to come forward, please? And you're very talkative today. Thank you for that. And thank you for sharing.
Caroline, it's Doug again, and I've been thinking about my brother, and yeah, I have, and I started to go back into my memory about him and the things that occurred when we were little children, and he was the eldest in the family, so he kind of came up against the authorities and my father and so on ahead of me, and I'm thinking back, we both started as little kids and so on, but because he was leading the way, sort of, and he came up against all this external pressure. And an incident that occurred that I thought about just recently. My father had a bit of a problem with an English. My father's Scottish. This person was English, and there was a bit of a clash. And there was an arrangement made where my brother and this Englishman's son would have a fight in a paddock. Not the fathers confronting each other's problems, but through their children. So Barry and Alistair duked up in a paddock with family members from both sides looking on, and any stray neighbours that might have heard the commotion. And they punched each other. And the fathers were egging them on from the sidelines while their own children were fighting. And I thought, I'm glad that wasn't me in that situation. But my brother had to go through that. And there are many things which make people, behave aggressively. And sometimes it's because they're being used by people who perhaps haven't got the courage to do it themselves. And I'm not downgrading my father in any way, shape or form, because as far as I know, to me anyway, definitely to me, he never raised a hand or took the strap from his belt or the belt from, and and whacked me. Teachers did that for him at school, but anyway, that's another story. But he did take out a bit of aggression or a bit of latent, carried down from his previous, from his father, grandfather, and so on, into my brother. And so I have had a soft spot for my brother for a long time now because he's matured. But I really feel for him because of those sorts of circumstances that he faced when he was growing up. And I was kind of an observer. I didn't have to actually put up with that. And when I voluntarily walked into his, tried to walk into his circle of friends and so on, that's where that change occurred for me permanently. And just to say, my brother went on in later life. He met a lady, and she was very well educated and so on. And she was Catholic, actually, and they could never get married because there was no way my brother would become a Catholic to marry her. But they lived together, and she changed him in many ways. She said, you have to change. You have to use your intelligence because you are intelligent, and you have to change. And long story short, he took up a government-funded course and became a teacher, a qualified teacher. And he went into the remote areas of Australia and taught the Indigenous people, the Aborigines, in various locations. And he was very, very, very good at changing young people who were heading for jail or prison because of their social circumstances. And he would do, the way he understood it, correct their course. And he was condemned a little bit, you might say, or persecuted by the government education system for his techniques of getting some change happening. And he gave up teaching, went to drive a big truck in the mine, blah, blah. But he's told me that some of those children that he taught or had an interaction with their parents in a non-conventional sort of way, as only my brother can do, some of those kids had found him on Facebook and sent a message saying something to this effect: "Thank you, Mr. Mac. I was going to go to jail. Now I am an engineer, or I am a highly qualified person, and I thank you." And it just shows you, that you're always doing good, even if you don't know, and even if you're doing it in an unconventional manner. So, I'm just thinking about my brother, and I'm thinking about how he influenced me in his way. And it certainly turned out better for me. And remind me, please, that I must, I do sometimes say to him that I love you, and it causes him to react a little bit because he's a bloke, a very masculine type of person. But I say to him, I love you. But I must ring him and actually reaffirm that with him. that without him, I probably wouldn't be sitting in front of you people, lovely people, and expressing myself this way. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Has your brother, or is he still working with maybe not children, but maybe with adults?
Yes,
Does he still-
he's retired in the official sense of that word, but he has another relationship now, not the one I spoke about, the lady who, if you could say, prodded him into being a teacher. He's with another beautiful lady who is perfect for him. They have had no children actually between them, but she has had, I think, it's 2 children previously, and he's still active in his way. He's much more mature now and much more relaxed, and a lot of wisdom. And I think in his own way, again, he's very brusque. He's a very brusque sort of person, very externally very big and very loud sort of person.
Rough,
But
we say.
Rough as bags, Caroline. That's an old Australian expression. He's as rough as bags.
Okay,
Hessian,
but
Hessian
do you know
Mm.
where your brother got ignited to change his path from what you used to know? Exactly, the turning point came.
Yes, it came with this relationship. He found himself with a lady named Marilla, and she was a secretary to a senator in the Australian Parliament, actually, and he had a very interesting thing. He had a motorbike accident. He used and still does ride a motorbike, a Norton Commando, and he was riding along in a suburb of the city he lived in, and a car came out very unexpectedly from behind a hedge, and he couldn't stop in time, and he hit the back of the car and flew up into the air and landed on the road on one knee, looking the way he was travelling, but he didn't realise what had happened. He just knew that he was kneeling on a road and watching people coming toward him in slow motion. And then they got close and moved up to real speed, and then they said, "Are you all right?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, it's great. I'm loving it." They said, "You've just come off your motorbike. You've just flown into the air 10 feet, 20 feet into the air and landed on your knee. And are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah." And they said, "Look." And he looked around and he saw his motorbike lying on the ground and the car was there. And he saw that I'm sorry, it's a bit long, but it's okay. He saw that the ignition was still on the motorbike. The red light was still on, and he realised there was fuel perhaps and dangerous situation. So he got up, he went over to his motorbike to switch off the ignition, and then he saw all the bones in his wrists were sticking out through his skin, and very serious problems. And then he felt very sick suddenly and fell to his knees again and vomited, and the pain hit, and then the ambulance came and he went to the hospital and had his wrists bound, in various ways, and the process of healing started. that night in the hospital, he was listening to somebody groaning and moaning in a critical ward where he was. And the next morning he said, I want to sign myself out. I don't want to be here anymore. I'll take care of it myself. And they said, well, you can't leave without signing the, yes, he said, yeah, just give me. So with his two bandaged wrists, he held the pen and signed himself out of the hospital and went home. And I said, how did you manage the pain? He said, oh, they gave me some morphine tablets or whatever. But he said, what I did was I just mentally put the pain in a box in the corner of the room and closed the lid. And every time the lid started to open, I closed the lid with my mind again and somehow managed the pain. Now, sometime shortly thereafter, he was invited by his friends, who were the same friends from previously in another place, but they'd all gone together to this new place, and they said, let's go out. And this lady he was living with during this whole situation said to him, don't go with these people. They're not your friends. They just need you as the leader of the pack or whatever, and they're not your friends. And he said, no, they're my friends. And I'll go out with them and they'll look after me. And she said, well, if they abandon you in the course of this adventure, don't ring me up and ask me to come and get you from wherever you might be, because I won't be doing that. And he said, oh, no, that won't happen. I'm going out with my friends. In Australia, we call them mates. I'm going out with my mates. So he left, and they came actually in and picked him up, and they began whatever. And about 3 o'clock, as he told me the story, 3 o'clock in the morning, he'd weakened and wasn't able to keep up, and they'd gone on their merry way. So he made the phone call to Marilla. And she said, I told you, and hung up. And he had to walk from one side of the city to the other side to get to his, and he had plenty of time to think whilst walking in the middle of the night. He got home, and when the next day, that's when she said to him, you've got to change. You're wasting yourself. This isn't the way. Your potential is more. And that's when he changed course and began to study to be a teacher, and became a teacher. Very interesting.
Now, with you telling the story so beautiful, this is where your soul doesn't match your physicality anymore. So your soul stops your body in its physicality by breaking a leg, creating an accident, for you to change your path because you don't want to stand still. This is exactly what happens to so many. And maybe now you can understand why you broke a leg, or why you ended up in plaster, or why you went through certain damages, because your soul is not agreeing on the path you're walking, and you don't want to move. You can't listen. You don't hear the sound of your soul, although the signs are very clearly on the wall for you to change your path. You might even ignite that path yourself, but don't see the path to be able to change it. So your soul creates the path that your physicality suddenly comes to a halt or a block, or maneuvers itself into an illness, which even if you try to treat the illness, as we use the classical way of medicine, it will jump to another place. it will reappear somewhere else. So as long as you don't go to the root of the problem where you're supposed to change your path of walk, your body is shaking, shivering, showing you all the elements change. So for a lot of listeners, if you see somebody start getting hurt, say it's a blessing, because somewhere you did not follow your heart, you didn't follow your path, and your physicality, your physical body stops you from moving. Because that gives you what? If you end up in a plaster, about 6 weeks to 8 weeks, depending on the injury, if it's a normal breaking of a bone. So that gives you that time gap to start looking, because it takes you out of your normal environment where you are functioning in, and it gives you a standstill. Even the cold, coughing, sneezing, these are all indicators you're expressing something is wrong. But the signs need to be understood better, because they're there for a reason in the first. So when your soul starts finding its room and its path to go and express itself in the physicality, and the physicality shows something is not right, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter in which shape or form it comes. Your soul is igniting it to position you that you can review your path. And it will keep on coming back until you realize it's you who are creating the conditions, you as a soul, which are creating the conditions through your physicality to adjust yourself, because somewhere it's needed. You're following, or your imprints of a situation are no longer there. So there needs to be an adjustment. Or you need to separate yourself from people by, when people go coughing and sneezing and showing all the signs of flu, it means stay away from me because I need more time for myself. There are people which cough. It's not the coughing which is so much important, but it's the expression, I need attention. Can you hear me? I'm making a sound which is horrible to everybody else, but in fact, it's a cry for help, a cry of attention, because you need to reposition yourself, but you don't find the path. So when people find this kind, and I can give you a very beautiful example. When our youngest one used to go to school and something went wrong in the school, when he could not talk and he could not express what happened or how it happened or how he felt, we could hear like a barking cough. And I mean, you would think, he has bronchitis beyond. But it's just a sound. And after a few times, you start paying attention because he's your child, you care, you're around him. So you notice the difference of the sound. Then I used to sit him down and just ask him straightforward, Rubin, what the heck is wrong? What has happened today? Can you talk about it? Can you share the experience? And then, oh no, it's nothing, because he wants to dwell on with that sad feeling or frustration feeling. I said, no. I said, we'll sit down and we'll talk, because you can't keep on coughing like this. And you definitely are not staying home, because this matter has to be sorted before you go back to school. So then drip, 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 the information starts coming up. Sometimes it's the way he saw it, it's his imprint, but you can, because as a parent, you can overview the full picture. And by him letting himself to express himself, within the few next hours, the coughing just disappears, because he doesn't need to carry it any longer. It's no longer, as we say, on his liver. He has digested it because he listened to himself. By them talking and expressing themselves without you actually correcting them, they can change their path. They come to understand because you let them to express themselves. So never be worried there is something wrong with you. It's your physicality which says, oh, stop. You need to take a different turn. When you can listen and be alerted by these alarms, how small they even start, if you play deaf, it's just going to get worse. And if it's been giving you enough signs, as with your brother most probably, you come to a full stop, a full hold. And that hold makes you to think. So when there was something on the internet which I didn't understand, it says when you love your children, you make them to be bored. Now I understand that expression, because when they're bored, you create the space for them to think, to sit and to think, not to allow them on the games, not to allow them anywhere doing anything, just being plenty forward bored, sitting on their own. That's the time when they can reconnect with their soul in their way of analyzing. So give your time to be bored, because that's the time when everything stops, there is nothing to do, and that you can reflect. And there are a lot of good souls on your path which try to get this information to you. And even when you still play deaf, your physicality will stop you, because it will prevent you from harming yourself any further. And it doesn't matter if it's a cold, a cough, a headache, a pain in the back, a foot, a twist of an ankle, it will appear. But analyze it in a positive way, that your physicality says, oh, stop. We're going to have a restart. And that's beautiful restart button, which, as you just came to explain, maybe now brings and sheds a lot of more light onto other people which don't understand why, because to them it's horrible, it's painful, it's hurting, it's frustrating. It's your soul which is giving you a little shake. And the heavier the shake is, the more you need to wake up. So it's beautiful that your soul has the capacity to give your physical vessel a shaking to say, come on, wake up. Your path
Love,
is
love
so.
your tumor and it will disappear, perhaps. If I'm.
Thank you so much. I am present.
Love your cigarette because it could be helping you. I can go with that.
Everything is there for a choice and a reason and a purpose of change. As
Thank
long
you,
as you take the pleasure of it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's so enlightening. It's makes me feel very light, and I think a lot of other people too. Fantastic.
Thank you. Do we have more wishes, please? How certain stories come about to shed a light of inspiring people to understand so much more, where they could never be able to stand still, because you can't read all the books, you can't see all the movies. But as Mr. Kesh says, these stories come to enlighten, to inspire you to see a different light, which opens a window or a door or a back door or a side door, that you find a way to go back through your front door. You don't need to use the sides or the back. Some even climb through the chimney. Although they come out black, they don't see it. So from now on, you can walk the path as a proud soul, because you're inspired, you're enlightened to take care of yourself, which is so important. To detach yourself from a system which has been created that you become a dependent. No longer. You have received to be an inspiring soul with all the knowledge which is at your service. to become independent in your own decisions, own your creation of your own path. You're creating your own world, as we say, pay it forward. You have received all the tools. Work with them, please. And you need more tools? Come and share more. With pleasure.
Caroline, I have to say this because I think it's relevant. I was working in my backyard with a whippersnipper, one of those electric. No, it was a petrol whippersnipper. It cuts the edges of your grass and so on. And I was working around the edges of my backyard, and without any warning, quite a large rock. Normally I wear safety glasses when I'm doing these things, but for some reason I didn't that day, because I know what I'm doing, of course, and it's not going to, I know I don't need safety glasses, which is very foolish. But anyway, a stone, quite a large stone, flew up from the rotating whippersnipper head and it hit me in the left eye, right in the left eye at full speed. And I just started my annual leave, my Christmas holidays, and this stone came and hit me in the left eye really, really fast and really hard. And I dropped the machine, I fell down, and my eye was aching and stinging and all the things that you can possibly imagine. And I thought, this is not good. But somehow I didn't have the urgent need to ring the doctor and get the ambulance and do the things. I didn't even tell anybody. My dear wife was upstairs. No, I didn't tell anybody. I just knelt on the ground and felt queasy and all the things that you do. And I thought, well, I wonder what this is, because my eye was closed. And it had already started swelling up and so on. And I tried to open my eye, my left eye. And when I opened it at all, even in a small way, and I helped it again with my fingers, probably not the right thing to do, but anyway, all I saw was blank, very, very dead screen, nothing. Like, it was just blanked out, but there were reds and there were colours, but there was no vision, nothing, completely covered. Oh dear. But for whatever reason, I thought, I'm not going to go to the doctor and I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to say that, yes, I've had a hit in the eye, and I will go upstairs and I will, put a pad of cotton wool on it, and I'll do this, but I'll just look after this. And my annual leave was 4 weeks, 1 month. And slowly or quickly over that time, just with my intention, I'm going to do this myself. This is not a problem. This is like you've been saying, this is some kind of a signal. And I accept it. And it's giving me time to just think about myself and what I can do, or do I become dependent and go outside? No, I'm going to stick with it. And every few days, couple of days during that 4-week period, I'd take the cotton wool I'd covered my eye with, and I'd look out of my eye, and slowly but surely bits of vision started to come back. And then without medication or of any kind, or even GANS, because I didn't have that at the time, didn't know anything about it, it corrected itself. And by the 4 weeks when I went back to work, I had, I would say, 95% of the vision that I had prior to the rock hitting my eye, just in time. And I went back to work and never told anybody, never said, oh, guess what? Maybe I should have, but I didn't. I just said, I just went back to work. And no one in my family knew that I was completely blind in that eye, or that, you know, people would panic, you know, under those conditions and run to get assistance and so on and become dependent, go to the doctor. They would argue, cut the eye out, give him a false eye, put the bionic eye in, you know, that'll be $60,000. Yes, you know, yeah, all those things. No, I just took care of it myself. And with your help tonight, anyway, there are other problems I've got with my body, which I will attend to myself. And I know that I am the soul that's within this body, the principal plasma, and I will do these things because it's time. We learned we can do these things ourselves, and I just thank you so much. Tonight's been really inspiring, and that's the end of this story.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Are you still there, Caroline? See, you're muted. Maybe Topi is busy barking. Okay, anyone else have something they'd like to bring forward at this point? So someone we didn't hear from, Theodore, or did you, and Step Jen? Would either of you like to open your microphone and go ahead? I take that.
Yes, we're back.
Okay, hi, Caroline.
You still have your smile, Rick?
I'm still smiling. Yep, you bet.
And Flint. In fact,
I'm smiling. It's Doug again. I am very, very smiling, Caroline and Rick and everyone. So smiling.
yes, I want to know how Flint did it this morning, his homework. Flint, are you present?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hello. Are you here with a big smile?
Yeah. Thank you.
How did the exercise went this morning?
Kind of like Rick. It's sad, but it'll get better with practice.
So what exactly did you compliment yourself with this morning?
Just beauty.
So that produced that big smile for sure.
Yeah.
Saying, Caroline, what the heck do you make me to do to talk to myself in my own marriage?
Yeah.
Have you been able to hold on to that thought of this morning?
Yes, it's come up several times, so it's a nice mental reminder.
Yes, that's exactly why I'm bringing it back within and between the presentations in the morning and the afternoon. I will remind you to stay happy, to keep the smile on the face, because then there is no room for anything else. Nothing else can swirl in and come and move that big smile and cannot empty your cup, because you're overflowing with such a joy every time you produce the nice, gorgeous smile. That's why I make you to laugh when I'm asking you, or your coffee's ready, or your tea is ready, because to you it's a joy to have a nice cup of coffee around you when you're doing this kind of work. Not only to keep you awake, but I remind you when I ask you, or do you have your coffee? Do you have your cup of tea? To me, it's a reminder for you to bring you to a pleasant level. And it's a very simple tactic. It's a very simple way how you can reposition people when you know they're going to have a harsh day or a long day and it's not going to be easy to pay and to keep your attention to whoever comes and shares something. You're part of it, but you have to monitor, you have to keep your eyes on so many things which are happening in the background. So for my team, I pay especially attention to remind them, is your coffee there? Is your cup of tea there? To give them that pleasant feeling to start the day, because I know their attention span has to be everywhere. I do thank all the technicians and all the people in the background. We cannot thank them enough, otherwise we would not be able to have these kind of presentations. All their hard work to figure out how to make it smooth for everybody, how to bring up all these links to make sure they're there in place, we can start on time, nothing goes wrong, we don't get no disturbances anywhere. At the beginning, we all know how many pitfalls we had to walk and jump, and I think I will bring a smile on Rick and Vince, certainly. The struggles of the beginning, of the start, how to deal with these programs, how to reset. So I do appreciate all of you, and I cannot express my gratitude enough to you, team. You are more than welcome to deserve a wish from us to support you further, to receive all the necessary energy to maintain this beautiful process where you are supporting humanity with your big souls. Because without you, we would not be able to have this kind of work, to accomplish what we are doing every day. You're so much part of it, although you're behind the screens. You're working so hard. I am present in the support of your wish to be able to achieve your goals.
Well, I am present in that wish of that tour in Kenya.
Thank you, Dr. Quato.
You're welcome.
Hi, this is James. Hello, everybody. I'd like to make a point, if I may. We've talked about today about the trafficking of children and the abuse of children from foreign nations into Europe, but very often we don't talk about the abuse that's going off right under our noses in our own nations. How many millions of children every year are being separated from their parents by family courts, social workers, the very institutions that are supposed to be protecting our children, the child protection, the child psychologist. It seems to me that it's become a great industry to promote the abuse of children by certain groups within these professions. And it's my wish that those people that are involved in the abuse, promoting the abuse, the neglect of children, that their souls be elevated so that they'll think twice about what they're doing to these children, to the estranged parents, and also to their societies and humanity at large. And then I asked myself, how come these things can happen? You know, there's so many people, they purport to be caring about children and so on. Then you look at the mechanisms that take place. I came to the conclusion that first thing is, this type of abuse couldn't take place if it wasn't just a reflection of the level of consciousness of humanity or of the people around them. And you know, I know there's a lot of people out there, a lot of children out there that have really suffered, and a lot of parents also that have suffered. And my heart goes out with them, and I just wish that they can find themselves and they can find peace in their souls, and the children can find themselves and have a normal life afterwards, after the abuse. Any comments?
Thank you. This is where the maturity starts coming in. Because if you analyze and you step backwards, it's easy to understand that when you have been conditioned and you have seen nothing else, and you have not been able to, by circumstances or social conditions or education, to increase your level, to come to understand where the difference lays, you don't bring the changes. So if there is nobody to give you a hand to come out of that pit from where you come, to make that one step higher, you float in the same energy field, so you become a copy. And this has been a copy machine of imprints. We see sometimes, or we say, or we express, and we say, monkey see, monkey do. Because it has been created in that way for a purpose. If you look a little bit further behind the purpose, then you will be shocked. But you have to dare to pull the windows and even clean your windows to see what is beyond of the purpose, why the situation is in this way. I will explain now why I put so much emphasis on the word majority. When I was start putting my wish out through the council, I used the word, we are more, we are in majority. Majority always takes the upper hand. Now, it's very understandable when you go into a fight, like Douglas just explained with his brother. You can see where this is getting played out. The more you are, the stronger you are to batter one little boy or one of another. When you get the support from the crowd to incite a fight, they will start fighting stronger, because through your initiation, they receive the energy to hit harder. So now, if we become one in understanding and elevating the souls, we become the majority. Now it's time to break the chains. Now it's time to reverse that energy which was stagnated and kept on being copied because it served a few, because you're so much easier to deal with, you're so much easier to handle with, not to have to think, or they keep you so busy not to have to think. You simply, when you're running 3 jobs in a daytime, how much time do you have to sit and think? You have no time to get bored to think. You have no time to analyze because you're so frustrated. All your energy is used that there is nothing else to create something new. So you don't become productive. You only stay in the line of production for what is serving, for what purpose, whatever it is. You don't have time to look outside the box because the box where you're in is rotating so fast, you don't even dare to go off the carousel because you don't know where you're going to fly. And every single soul which is coming forward, just listen to their stories. They have stepped outside that box for one or another reason. They come and give you a hand to show you the path how you can step out. And what that stepping out, detaching from what they always have known, has created a new path. And they're proud to come forward and say and share with you to show the path how it can be done. All these teachings and the blueprint of peace is just to take every single soul we can by the hand and show the path. And if we are not as a family sharing our experiences, how we got out of the box, then we just have to change the level of understanding, because through that, you reposition yourself and say, oh, you know, when that little click comes, I understand, you change. And people have come here forward, which would have most probably a few weeks or a few months ago, would have never even dared to have the courage to come forward. Some of people say, I don't like to talk about myself. It's not so much about myself, but, you know, I have to speak. This is exactly the same process I was explaining with our youngest one. You need to speak. Then you come to understand how the path is changing, and you're part of it. You're in the honeypot. Now you can taste the honey of the change. So, to how many more people do you want to express the feeling of tasting honey? It's sweet, it's sugary, it's sticky. Don't eat too much of it because it can make you sick as well. The color is gold. It's shining when the light is on it. It reflects. How can you not, or how can you express if you never tasted honey? What is honey? This is what this is inspiring and leveling up of the souls, is the whole path of walking. So now we are all aware, we open the doors of this child. We know our children are in danger. We know very well, but we never knew how to break the doors open. We did not know how to raise the levels for not only understanding, but once you are receiving a higher level of energy, which we say we elevate the soul, then you have sufficient enough energy to move out of this black box. And this is what a lot of people are showing, the path that they have changed. They're walking away from this path of the box. But the more people that walk away, the more changes will come. That's why Mr. Kesh went frantic and he said, how many people? I've done it. I went to it. I went to Facebook of Dirk Lorenz, where the Kesh Victims Hope Parade is on it. And I went and I clicked, I opened the person in their folder, what they have posted as whatever, insult, laughing, joking, insulting, it doesn't matter. I just went and I reported, this is an insult, this is harassment, and you send the file to Facebook. They are needing to receive more for it to be shut down. So how many people do really go through this process, picking Facebook, going to this website and stop this if you know and you don't agree with it? Why letting it lingering, hanging around? I myself go on regular basis in between my times to go and send the signals to Facebook, can you please stop this? This is idiotic. Although I cannot express my feeling, I can only say, picking between certain words of insult, this is harassment, this is bullying. And this is the only thing I can do. But I reported back. So now you're with thousands and thousands of the foundation. You all know how Facebook works. Are you willing to make the stop to come out of that black box, to go and push that button to say to Facebook, hey, excuse me, this is going beyond? This is exactly the same pattern as you're talking about the child abuse. When you don't raise, how do you want to stop it? If you don't stand up and say and make sure they can hear your voice, how are you going to stop it? If I don't step forward, as this other gentleman shared with me, you step out of your box to go to that parent and say, excuse me, this is not the way to treat your child. You cannot hit, you should talk to your child. Then you see them shocking. Because I brought with my stepping, as I said, paying it forward for the child to make sure in the future he does not get a raise of a hand. And even if she raises her hand or he raises his hand towards his child, he will always remember the point where I tried to stop him or to alert him not to do it, because I explained to them. So if every single one takes his own responsibility of paying it forward for somebody, even for a tiny little child, not to get or receive a whack on his head or wherever, or a belt, you change the path of energy. You change the elevation of the soul, which you approach with your energy, because you're sending it out as a signal, he receives it. Doesn't matter his reaction. You have to stand strong and say, you can say whatever you like. I do not agree with what you do. So, if you have so many souls coming into the awareness of elevation, this is exactly our blueprint of peace. We start with ourselves to elevate, to fill up our soul, that we have enough energy to be so full of happiness that at least we have the power to stand up, to walk 1 or 2 or 3 steps, to stop somebody's hands waving at the child. We all can do it. Not to repeat the past. And that's what the motion brought yesterday in the teaching. Fill up your own cup, which means make peace with yourself. With being a knowledge seeker, you know how to do it. You know how to heal your wounds. You know how to refresh your cup. You know how to refill your energy. So you have plenty first to clean up, to wash and to cleanse and to understand, for you to be a full light, to be able to walk out of your cup and share with your knowledge to the other souls to bring the change. And if you do it 3 times, you make the calculation. So the path of the soul through the humanity, through the physical vessel, should be very easy to change in a very short time.
Yeah, when I looked into it, what drives these people that are abusing or promoting the abuse of children, I found that there's a lot to do with political philosophy on the one side, on the other side, their belief systems, the other side, they can enrich themselves. But what I noticed by a lot of these people, they weren't in balance themselves, and most probably the reason why they were either themselves abusing children or promoting the abuse of children is because it was a behavioral pattern. They didn't know better. They've experienced love and
but sorry to I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Mm.
When you go and talk on the levels where you're referring to, excuse me, beg your pardon, they know very well the difference between right and wrong.
Oh yeah.
There is a difference. There is a difference in the society where you, as a beaten up child from childhood, you don't know any better. The ones, just 1 second, or you're gonna go deaf.
Oh no, I agree with you on that. The people that are actually involved at the high level, they know exactly what they're doing. And that has one side to do, as far as I can understand, has to do with political motives or a belief system, could be occultism. They know what they're doing. But the ones that pale along with it, a lot of them, either they're protecting their own back because they work in that industry and they're too scared to say anything about it, or, you know, they were abused themselves, they don't know. So yes and no. A lot of different people in there.
Okay, I'd like to kind of wrap things up for this part here, where we've run a bit over and we need to take a break to replenish our cups and rejuvenate, as we were mentioning earlier. Is that okay, Caroline? Are you still there? You might be still busy with.
Can you repeat the thing, because I couldn't hear.
I was just saying that it's time to take a break here, so maybe we'll do that and follow up on the conversation in the next hour. How does that sound?
Please remind us of the topics we wanted to start, like with your letter and then Dr. Guata.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You remember your letter you said?
Yeah, I have that on the list, but there's been many things in between, so.
Okay, I do understand. But before we shut down, please, can we have, Topoli, can we have 1 minute silence, please, to elevate the souls of the perpetrators on the children, the real perpetrators, not the parents which don't know how to behave. Thank you very much.
I'm present, James.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. So we'll have a minute of silence now on that regard. Okay, thank you for that. And we'll take a 1 hour break, or less than 1 hour break now, and come back at 2 o'clock CEST time. That's Central European time. And it's Blueprint for Peace for Humanity, day 15. This was the morning session for Tuesday, July 25th, 2017. Okay, I'll see you all back here in about 50 minutes. Stop the live stream.